Ruchim Aboim B'Shem Irgun Shirei Torah, Moses Boston. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's shir, all the men here in the men's section, all the women upstairs and downstairs, and everyone listening in on the phone, and everyone watching through the live streaming. Ruchim Aboim to everyone. Rabbi Efraim Shapiro Torah annual dinner is coming up, just less than 2 weeks, Wednesday, August 16th, in the Young Israel Avenue K. It's the perfect time to put an ad in the journal and show your Hakaras HaTov to Irgun Shirei Torah and to the Rabbanim B'Shiurim we've enjoyed throughout the year or throughout the summer, and help have a chelik in our Batzis HaTorah. I'd like to give a big ashikayach to the Lowinger family, the support of tonight's shir, Lili Nishmas Imam, Hisha Mindel, Bashab Osher, Shalom is your side tonight, Tazayin Ov. Tonight she is also learned for Shlema for Miriam Lieber Bas Devera and Baruch Gimpel Avigdor Ben Chana. Tonight we have the cover to have with us once again Rabbi Efraim Shapiro, Rav Kal Shari Tefillah, North Miami Beach, came to mechazek us on the topic of achieving greatness. It's my cover to call in Rabbi Shapiro for tonight's drasha.
I want to begin by thanking my achsanya. It's your achsanya as well, Irgun Shirei Torah. The amount of Torah, countless hours that they are responsible for, specifically in the summer, all year long, that's true, but specifically in the summer, which could potentially be a time that maybe some people might learn a bit less, or might be tarred with many other things. Irgun Shirei Torah makes sure that there's a tremendous amount of learning that takes place, both bekamus and eichos, in quantity and quality. We should have a tremendous debt of hakaras hatov to them. I want to single out Rabbi Bald. When Rabbi Bald works on making a schedule and having to orchestrate dozens upon dozens of shiurim, hundreds, there's a tremendous amount of time and koyach that goes into that. I want to give Rabbi Bald and everybody with Irgun Shirei Torah bracha. They should be zoicha to continue their avodas hakodesh gesundheit heit. And we should remember, firstly, Irgun Shirei Torah is having their dinner, which is a very, very big event for them, next Wednesday night. Whatever you could do to support it would be very, very appreciated. But the fact, as I said, specifically in the summer, that they make sure night in and night out, here on this floor we have Anoshim Chashuvim, there are floors both above and below where many women, Noshim Tzidkaniyos, are listening. Don't take for granted and don't let it go unnoticed what they're doing for us, and make sure that not only do we thank Irgun Shirei Torah, but we let others know how much hakaras hatov we should have to them. Many years ago, Rabbi Aaron Kotler, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh L'Vracha, was in London, and he was asked to speak, and he began by quoting what seems to be an obvious machlokes, a contradiction, a stira between two Gemaras, a Gemara in Yuma and a Gemara in Nedarim. Why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Now, obviously, we just had this past week Shabbos Nachamu. We're having now Tu B'Av. What does it mean, Shabbos Nachamu? That we heard the beautiful Haftarah, Nachamu, Nachamu Ami? But we're still not in Eretz Yisrael. We still don't have the Bayis Shlishi. We're not in the... So what does it mean now? That's the ultimate Nechama? So in speaking about the Churban, Rabbi Aaron asked that the two Gemaras seem to contradict each other. Why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Most people know what the Gemara in Yuma says, Daf Tes Amud Beis. Each one was because of a potpourri of Averos. One Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of the three Gimel Averis Chamuros, the three cardinal sins. Gili Arayas Avodah Zarah Shvichas Damim. We worshipped idols. We were immoral, bloodshed. And everybody knows the Bayish Sheni. Why was it destroyed? Sinas Chinam. And its byproduct, Lashon Hara, the inability to get along. Yet if you take a look at the Gemara in Nedarim, that's not what the Gemara in Nedarim says. The Gemara in Nedarim wants to know on the Pasuk of the Haaretz, why did we lose the Beis HaMikdash? The Gemara says, Ozvum es Tairasi, we forsook the Torah. And in explaining what it means to forsake the Torah, it says, Shalai Baruch Ba Torah Tchila. We learned without first making Birchas HaTorah. Now, what does that mean? I learned, but Shalai Baruch Ba Torah Tchila, I didn't first make Birchas HaTorah? How do you even understand why? What is the crime of Shalai Baruch Ba Torah Tchila? My father's Atzal, Harav Mordechai Shapiro, had many answers. I remember hearing from an uncle of mine about my father that he had well over 20 answers to this issue. What's the chisaron of Shalai Baruch Ba Torah Tchila? But I want you to focus on a Ran. The Ran brings down B'Shem the Rabbeinu Yaina. I'll say the sentence once in Hebrew, then in English. Why is it we sat and we learned without first making Birchas HaTorah? Why is it Shalai Baruch Ba Torah Tchila? Why didn't you make Birchas HaTorah? So the Ran says in the name of the Rabbeinu Yaina, Shalai, and this is really the key to achieving greatness. Here it is. Shalai Haisa HaTorah Chashuva Beinayim Kol Kach. You know what that means in English? Shalai Haisa HaTorah Chashuva Beinayim Kol Kach? Torah just wasn't that important to us. And if Torah is not that important to you, it's not on your top to-do list, it doesn't make it to the top 10 things I have to do today, then naturally when you learn if something is not important to you, how do you show that it's just not that important to me? I don't begin with Birchas HaTorah. All I did was quote to you, not all, the Ran in the name of the Rabbeinu Yaina. Why is it we learned without first making Birchas HaTorah? Why? It wasn't that important to us. It didn't make it onto our radar. It wasn't on our to-do list. Not today. So the way you show that it's not that important is you didn't make Birchas HaTorah. But here's the question. So why was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed? One Gemara says because of a whole potpourri of Averos, and the Gemara I just quoted to you said because Torah was not that important to us. Which was it? I mean, one is the Gemara in Yuma, and one is the Gemara in Nedarim. I'm just asking you to answer the question. Why was the Beis HaMikdash destroyed? One Gemara says a whole list of Averos, Gilei Arayas, Avodah Zarah, Shvichas Damim, Lashon Hara, Sinas Chinam, jealousy, disunity. And I just quoted you another Gemara that says, Shalai Haisa Torah Chashuva Beinayim Kol Kach, Torah wasn't that important to us. Which is it? This is what Rabbi Aaron asked when he was in London. And Rabbi Aaron explained, based on the following Marshal. Imagine a guy he's driving in his car, and somehow he is able to get a message from his wife that he just won a large lottery of many millions of dollars. That's unbelievable news. Not 10 seconds later, somebody inconsiderately cuts him off and makes a sharp turn. How does this person respond to what was just done to him? So Rabbi Aaron is masber. Well, before his wife called and told him that he won the lottery, like many people respond with road rage. You get angry. You say things you shouldn't say. You show your anger with road rage. But how does this person respond? His wife just told him he won the lottery. So what do you want him to do? You want him to react to this guy? He says, Rabbi, what's he going to react for? I won the lottery. And if I won the lottery, so what do you want? I'm going to get busy with what you did to me? It would be inconsequential to us. It wouldn't make it onto our radar screen. You want me to get angry, to get upset, to get uptight with you because you cut me off? What are you talking about? I won the lottery. And if you won the lottery, well, the fact that you cut me off, it just doesn't make it onto my radar screen. Reb Aaron explains, having a life of Torah, achieving greatness in Torah, that's winning the lottery. If we would feel that we won the lottery, and I'm talking tonight specifically after Tisha B'Av, I think it's a topic that should be spoken about more often. If a person would think that by learning Torah, breathing Torah, supporting Torah, honoring Talmidei Chachamim, showing proper awe and reverence to our Gedolim, if people would believe that a life of Torah is truly, hello, did you not get the memo? I won the lottery. So if I won the lottery, you want me to be busy, you slighted me, you said this to me. Are you kidding me? I won the lottery. And Reb Aaron is telling us, if you feel with Torah like you won the lottery, then the other things are somewhat inconsequential and meaningless. So, Rabbi Isai, Reb Aaron so beautifully says that's the answer to the two Gemaras. Let me give it to you in one clear sentence. Why was the Beis Hamikdash destroyed? Because of a bunch of Aveiros. But why did you get busy with Aveiros? Why did you let those things bother you? Because you didn't feel like you won the lottery. That's it. You just got the entire story in one succinct sentence. You see, because if I don't feel like I won the lottery, I'll have jealousy towards you. I can't get along with you. Everything you say grishes me. 4 days later, my day's not a day, my night's not a night. I lost 2 weeks because still you looked at me this way and I can't get by what you did to me. Everybody is busy with this one did this and this slight, and it grishes you and bothers you until your days aren't days and your nights aren't nights. You know why the Aveiros were performed? You know why we got so entangled in Siras Chinom and Lashon Hara and jealousy? Shaloi Hoisa Torah Chashuva Beineim Kol Kach is the reason. It's the underlying siba why we allowed Aveiros to get in the way. That's it. You now could leave tonight's Irgun Shirei Torah and say, Reb Aaron explained, there's no machlokes between you and Nedarim. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because we got involved and entangled in a web of Aveiros. We performed Aveiros because we just didn't feel like we won the lottery. Shaloi Haisa Torah Chashuva Beineim Kol Kach means just not that important to me. I mean, I know it's important, not on my radar. Didn't make it onto my to-do list. As long as you and I don't feel with Torah like we won the lottery, it'll pretty much just be another Tisha B'Av and another Nachamu Ami of a terrific Shabbos, Daf Torah being read. But that's it? That's the ultimate? A person should leave here at least realizing to achieve greatness, there's learning Torah, connecting to it, supporting it, making it a part of our home, as I said many times recently when talking about this topic, it's not rocket science. Everybody can make their home a place where the Simchas HaTorah is bouncing off the walls. You can do it. And if not now, then when? About 100 years ago in Tsarist Russia, they used to get together in a particular shul and they would bid on the kibudim, the honors for Yom Kippur. These people gathered only for Yom Kippur, very, very wealthy people. They started the bidding for the most desirable honor, psicha, for Ne'ilah. Baron Ginsburg, who was meforsim for his wealth, he bids 500 ruble. That's a tremendous number. The bidding escalates higher and higher until people are trying to outdo him, and Baron Ginsburg ups it to 2,000 ruble. Rabbi Efraim Shapiro, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kodesh brings this down, says, in today's dollars, 2,000 ruble would be a few $100,000. Baron Ginsburg, renowned for his wealth, bids 2,000 ruble. Baron Falk ups it by 500 to 2,500, which would be the equivalent of $300,000 to $400,000. And Baron Falk gets it for 2,500 ruble. After he gets the honor of Psicha for Ne'ilah, he turns to the person next to him and says, "Psst, what is Psicha for Ne'ilah?" So he turns to the person and says, he turns to Falk and says, you just bid the equivalent of what would be $300,000-$400,000. You don't know what Psicha for Ne'ilah is? He said, no. One thing I do know. I know that Baron Ginsburg understands a good deal. I know that he knows when something is priceless. If he was willing to bid 2,000 ruble, I knew it was priceless, and I knew that I wanted it. So now that I got it for 2,500 ruble, tell me, what is it? Maisa shahaya kach haya. It didn't make a difference to him, so I don't know what psicha for Ne'ilah is. So what? Baron Ginsburg knows deal. Baron Ginsburg knows what's priceless. And if he was willing to spend 2,000 ruble, then I want it. Is Torah any different? I know the value of Torah. You know the value of Torah? You know how Torah, what do you know? What do I know? We know how Torah protects us. I'll tell you, there's one person that knows. Chazal tell us about Torah, Yikarahi mipninim. So how do you translate that? It's more precious than pearls and diamonds? That's not what it means, Chazal say. The word mipninim is to be read lifnai v'lifnim. In other words, Torah is more precious than the holiest man on the holiest day in the holiest place. The Kohen Gadol in the Kodesh HaKadoshim on Yom Kippurim. Did everybody fully chop that sentence? The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and yet Yikorahi mipninim. The value of Torah is more than that. I am not the concierge on the value of Torah, and neither are you. Chazal are telling us clearly, Yikorahi mipninim. It is more priceless and valuable than the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur and the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And so you and I may not know the value. What is Psicha for Ne'ilah? You know how Torah sustains us? You know how the Ribbono Shel Olam allows it to protect us? Whether you and I know is immaterial. Chazal say Yekarahim Mipninim, and if it's Yekarahim Mipninim, I just got back a few days ago from South Africa. And I mentioned this Maisa there. And in that wonderful community, a man came over to, I'm not going to mention his name, someone who became a Baal Tshuva many years ago, a very, very prominent person in the Kehillah, and he said, let me tell you a story. He was in Eretz Yisrael. He was mamash just becoming religious. And he was visiting a brother-in-law of his in Eretz Yisrael that was already from. And there was a big gadol sitting at the head of the table. So the brother-in-law, the one who's telling me the story, who's not yet religious, but who wants to become a Baal Tshuva, he's talking to the gadol. You got to give me something to do. You've got to give me. I want to. I live in South Africa. I Baruch Hashem have the resources. I have the wealth. Give me something to do. What can I take upon myself? So the gadol turned to this person that asked the question and said, you need to start a koilo. So he said, perfect, done. They shook on it and said, I'm starting a koilo. Perfect. He then tells me he walked into the kitchen and asked his already religious brother-in-law, psst, what's a koilo? It didn't make a difference to him. You want me? First, let me understand. Yekarahim Mipninim. There isn't anything like learning it and living it and breathing it and being in awe and reverence of our Gedolim. And that's why this fellow, decades later, not only started that one, started other Kailim. I have a wonderful relationship with this person from each and every trip I take to South Africa. Why? I was told to do it, I'm doing it. Now you want to tell me what a Kailal is? Now you want to tell me what Psicha V'Niyal is? Now you can tell it to me. But if the Chachamim say there's nothing like it, maybe that's why Irgun Shirei Torah gets it so well. In the summer, when there could be so many lost opportunities, they make sure that doesn't happen. And you realize that as I say these words, even though here in the shul it's being watched on 3 floors, one above here and one below, this is being shown and is watched in places around the country and around the entire world. Why? Because people understand that Yekarahim Mipninim, you know the value of what it could do? There's a Maisa that took place more than 400 years ago in Lublin. The Rav of Lublin at the time was the Marshal. If one wants to see every impeccable detail of this story, it's written in a unbelievable sefer of Maisas Gedolim, B'didi Haveyuvda. You can look on page Ayin Hey and Ayin Vav. There in B'didi Haveyuvda, so many of these details of the story are brought down. And by the way, it's brought down that the story is found in the Pincus, the ledger of the Chever Kadisha, the burial society, and they said, mitzvah lefarsem, you should be mefarsem and publicize the story. Rabbi Efraim Shapiro, the Lubliner Rosh Hashiva, the founder of the Daf Yomi, was makbid lefarsem it, and wherever I can, I try, wherever I travel, to be mefarsim in the story, because that's what it says from the Marshal 400 years ago. Here's the Maisa. The Marshal had a Talmud, and the Talmud was married, and a bit later, the wife passed away, the young woman passed away. The Marshal noticed a number of months later that the Talmud was obviously grieving for the loss, but the Marshal sensed that it was something beyond beyond, something more that he was grieving for. He confronted his young Talmud, and the Talmud said that before the young wife passed away, he made a tekiyas kaf, which means he made a binding agreement with her that he wouldn't remarry. The Marshal told him that it's not a binding agreement because you didn't have children and the world was created, Pru'avu, l'sheves Yitzhara, to build a family, and you're allowed to remarry. I'm paskening. The Talmud was equipped with the psak of the Rav of Lublin, the Marshal, and he remarried. Just a bit after the marriage, the young Talmud died. You could imagine what it must have been like in Lublin then. They informed the Marshal that the Talmud died. The Marshal said, put him in Tachrichim, get him ready for burial, put him in the Beis HaKvaros, but before you lower and put the body into the ground, come and get me. They came after doing everything, and they came to get the Marshal. The Marshal took out a piece of paper, and he wrote on the piece of paper the words, Shalom, Shalom, Palmalia Shalmaila. Greetings to those hosts in heaven. And then the Marshal wrote the words, Gozrani, I decree, Bekoyach HaTorah. In fact, it was a privilege to say this a few months ago in front of one of the Rabbi Twerskis, who was able to tell me that a bit ago he went with a relative and they were able to see where a copy of this petek, this letter that I'm mentioning, is found. Gozrani, I decree, Bekoyach HaTorah, with the power that Torah has, Shetachziru li Talmidai, give me back my student. The student wasn't sleeping. The Talmud was dead. And the Marshal said, I decree with the power of Torah, give him back to me. And put it in his hand. And leave the cemetery. They put it in the hand and they left. Not a few minutes later, the dead Talmud had complete Chiyas HaMeisim and he was alive again. He went back to the home of his wife, but she saw her husband in Tachrichim. One could only imagine what that was like. So she ran to her father's house. The Marshal told him, go back to yeshiva after you change your clothing. He went back to yeshiva, but to sit on the bench with a Talmud who was dead, who's going to learn like that? So the Marshal wrote another petek and he said, this was Shalom, Shalom to the Sar HaShikha, the angel in charge of forgetfulness. Gozrani, I decree, B'koyach HaTorah, that Lublin forget the story. Please do not anybody ask me, so how do we know the story today? Gozrani, I decree, Lublin should forget the story. That's what happened. They wrote the Maisa in the ledger of the Chevra Kadisha, and the man had many dairais of Yarei Shemayim and Erlechayidin and Talmidei Chachamim. Maisa shahaya kachaya. I want to reiterate, I remember before the first time I ever said this story, I asked a family member of mine, are the people that I'm saying the story to going to understand? I'm talking about a Talmud that was dead. And the Marshal said, Bekoyach HaTorah, there's a power in Torah, give me back my dead Talmud. You and I know how Torah protects us? What do you and I know? What do you and I know exactly? Reb Aaron says what you need to know is, if you have Torah, then and you won the lottery. And if you won the lottery, while I may not know what a koilel is, while I may not know what psicha for ne'ilah is, one thing I know, Yikorahi mipninim. And it had the ability, said the Marshal, to wake up a dead Talmud. I think that if a person wants to take a beautiful Shabbos of Nachamu, and a beautiful Shabbos, how was your Shabbos, Nachman? And a beautiful Shabbos, Nachman. Really, a beautiful Shabbos, Nachamu. I got it. I really get it. I'm sure wherever you were, and I'm sure whatever you did, I'm sure it was a beautiful Shabbos, Nachamu. What I think is a beautiful Shabbos Nachamu is if there's a Geula Shalema, there's a Bayis Shlishi, there's Gilui Eliyahu, we're with David Ben Yishai, like that Shabbos Nachamu, the way it's meant to be. Everybody's so busy. I got it. It's a beautiful Shabbos Nachamu. I did this one, I did this one, that, and I'm not even giving examples because I'm bound to say, oh, bothers him. Do whatever you want on Shabbos Nachamu. What I want on Shabbos Nachamu is what it's supposed to be. Nachamu, Nachamu Ami. The real Nechama, the Beis HaMikdash, the Bayis Shlishi, Yerushalayim, living b'shalom u'b'shalva. There's got to be more. The answer is there's a power in Torah. Now here it is again. What I told you isn't rocket science. If you feel like you won the lottery, then it's choshev by you. If it's important to you, then all the little things don't bother you. You don't get bothered and grizhed every time he looked at me this way and she did this and everybody. You don't get so caught up in things that should be inconsequential. What should make it onto your radar is Torah. And if it is winning the lottery, the other things fall away. Oh, by the way, newsflash. If the other things fall away, then you have the Beis HaMikdash. That has to be like the easiest math problem I ever solved in my life. If Torah is choshev and you feel like you won the lottery, you don't get entangled in a web of averos. If you're not entangled in a web of averos, the reason for the destruction is gone. The good news is, apparently, Irgun Shirei Torah understood what I said the last half hour, and so does Klal Yisrael. How do I know that? That's the good news. That's the news that makes me really believe that the Nachamu Ami that I described, like the one in Eretz Yisrael with the Beis HaMikdash, is so possible. Everybody knows that the Telzer Rosh Hashiva Belio Meir Bloch, I know it's a famous story. I get it. He was after the war in a Svarim store, and he asked to buy a ktsois, and the Meicher Svarim lovingly dusted it off and said, take good care of it because it's the last ktsois that will ever be sold. I know there are two versions to the story. That's one of them. It's the last one. It's the last ktsois that will ever be sold. How many tens of thousands of volumes of the ktsois have been sold? How many hundreds of thousands of people with beating hearts around the globe and planet make their main staple of Gemara learning, thank you very much, a ktsois? How do you explain it? I heard from a Rav in London, Rav Bernstein, a one-liner on a quote from the Gemara. If you came to tonight's shir and only, I'd like you to take out a lot more than just this line. But even if you took out only this line, first of all, don't tell me that you only took out this line. But even if it's all you take out, part of me is okay with it. The Gemara says, listen well, Minayin l'tchias hamesim min ha-Torah. Where in the Torah do you see a hint and an allusion to Tchias HaMesim? And everybody knows the most famous answer is from Oz Yashir. I'll say it again. Minayin l'tchias hamesim min ha-Torah Where in the Torah do you see a hint and an allusion to the resurrection of the dead? Says Rav Bernstein from London, no. The question is the first three words. The answer is the last two. And here's how to read it. Minayin l'tchias hamesim. How do you know there's a concept of resurrection of the dead? How do you know there's something called tchias hamesim? The answer is min ha-Torah. Because I look at Torah. I look at the vibrancy. I look at the amount that Torah is being learned in the planet today more than ever since Brias HaOlam. Yes, how many people 70 and 80 and 100 years ago said they're archaic and throw it overboard into the water and these books will never be studied again? No, that's a thing that was like it's not really for the new era. You hear a word? That's a pshat. How do you know that the dead come back to life as per the story with the Marshal? Min ha-Torah. Because I look at Torah and I see that wherever a person travels, it is being learnt, certainly in quantity, like never, ever, ever before. That is the biggest proof that there's a resiliency that we keep bouncing back with. And so while I opened up by saying we've got to feel like we won the lottery, vice versa, there are many people who feel that way. We seem to have a resiliency and an ability to bounce back. Do you know that when Haman, the ultimate antagonist, came after us, Haman is described as Tzairer HaYehudim. What does Tzairer HaYehudim mean? He was the antagonist of the Jews. Many Sfarim say the word Tzairer is from the Hebrew word litzror. What does litzror mean? To bundle and unite. Haman, when a Haman comes after us, Tzairer HaYehudim, we unite even better than before. Did you not take in your Suda right before Tisha B'Av an egg with ashes? What are you taking an egg for? Because when you put an egg, a soft-boiled egg, and you put the fire under it, the more you put the fire under it, the harder the egg becomes. And that's exactly the way we are. You come after us, you put the fire under us, we will unite and become better. You know, in the Haggadah, it refers to us like a blade of grass. Why a blade of grass? Because a blade of grass, the more often you mow your lawn, the grass will grow back quicker and taller and stronger. The resiliency of Klal Yisrael is Tzairer HaYehudim. You come after us, we'll unite even better. You come after us, like an egg, we become tougher and stronger with the resiliency. And like the blade of grass, we will be bigger and better, and we will learn more. I just had the privilege, less than 2 weeks ago, as the 9 days were approaching, I was standing by the arch of Titus HaRasha. It's actually a very painful place to stand. Any time of the year, but especially if you're a few days before Tisha B'Av. You know how painful it is to look at the arch they made in the Russia who destroyed the Beis Hamikdash's honor, and to see the kalim, the menorah, the shulchan, the chatzaitzrais being put on the backs and schlepped hundreds of miles It's a very, very painful place to be. And there were a number of other groups that were there at the same time, and I realized that it was a powerful moment to speak about this resiliency that I've been talking about. And I said over a vort that I heard in the name of Rabbi Efraim Waxman, soll gesund und stark sein. Where's Moshe Rabbeinu buried? Where's he buried? Chazal say, Heichon kurasa shel Moshe, Yeshayimim lamala, v'yeshayimim lamata, v'atayra amra, v'lo yada ishes kurasai. Where's he buried? Some say upstairs, some say downstairs. The Torah says we don't know. Listen to a life-changing word about what it means to be a Yid. In every generation, they seek to destroy us. That happens. The only thing that they debate about is, how am I going to get the Jews? I want to get rid of them once and for all. How do I get rid of the Jews once and for all? Heichon klurasai shel Moshe Rabbeinu. How do I bury Das Moshe? How our enemies seek to know, do I get rid of them? Yeshayimim lamala. Some generations they say lamala. Raise up the Jew. Cause them to intermarry, to mingle and to mix with us. V'yesh oimrim lamata. And some say you step on them, you persecute them. An expulsion, an inquisition, a Holocaust. V'hatayra amra, but the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Lo yada ishes kurasai. You will never, ever, ever successfully bury Das Moshe. And standing by the Arch of Titus, I know that the Ponevezher Rav said the famous words, Titus, where are you? What's left of you? And we could say now, 50 years after the Ponevezher Rav, but look what we have in Ponevezh. Look what we have in Bnei Brak. I remember now, when I was walking up, my mother, she shall live and be well, shared with me that 65 years ago when my father was coming back from Eretz Yisrael, he stopped in Rome and was by the Arch of Titus. And he expressed the words of the Ponevezher Rav that I just told you. So I was able to add, you know what it meant to me that my father, 65 years ago, he was by the Arch of Titus, and now the next generation, I was able to be there and to express the same words? Yeshayimim lamala v'yeshayimim lamata. Every generation says, I'll tell you how to get rid of them. I'll raise them up and cause them to intermarry. I'll persecute and annihilate them. V'atayra amar, but the Rebbeinu Shalom says, Lo yada ishes kurasai. It's not happening. A few years ago, was flying to Eretz Yisrael for the yahrzeit of my father's Atzal. And while I was in the air, the world changed forever in 7 minutes. It was the morning of the Har Nof massacre. Parenthetically, if anybody wants to know, like 7 or 8 minutes, is it such a big deal? On that morning, the world changed forever. Kedoshim were davening with talis and tefillin, and they were slaughtered and butchered. And the world was a different world. The whole trip over the next few days was surreal. I was speaking in yeshivas and seminaries, gatherings. What was taking place in the country is beyond description. The best thing that I could say is, if you were there, you don't need me to say anything. And if you weren't there, there isn't a thing that I could tell you that would help you understand what it was like those few days. I was given a tour of the Shul B'nai Torah, and then afterwards I was asked to go to the 4 almanos and almost 30 assignment to be Menachem Oval. I was walking with thousands upon thousands of others up and down the street. If a person didn't know, normally you would see such a scene if it was Friday night and you had 4 Shalom Zachars on the same street. Nothing could be further from the truth. Thousands of people walking to the Yom HaChamol. It was beyond description. A morning or two after the massacre, there was a bris in the shul. And after the bris, as I heard it many times, some of the news, the media, went to the grandfather of the baby questioning, how could you give your grandson a bris in this shul? Just yesterday, so much blood from Yid and Kedoshim that were butchered to death. And now a bris, b'damai chayi, b'damai chayi. How could you do that to your grandson? So he said, let me answer you. He said, it's well known that during the war, the Telzer Rosh Hashiva that I quoted earlier, Rabbi Elio Meir Bloch, was here raising funds for the yeshiva. In fact, he was writing Chiddushei Torah, and they came and they told him that all that he had no longer existed. His wife, his children, his family, his Talmidim, the yeshiva, tells the Litta no longer existed. It's well known that Rabbi Elio Meir Bloch continued to write what he was in the middle of writing, and only after he finished did he have the avelus of the churban that he was just informed about, in everything that he once had, he no longer had. And in explaining why he did it that way, why he went ahead, and he continued to write, and only after did he have the avelus of his own personal churban, he was masber what we've been talking about. Because they want us to stop. They want to break us. They want us not to go on. But the resiliency of Tzayir HaYehudim, the egg, the blade of grass, that's precisely why Lo Yoda Ishes Kfurosai. He said he's going to continue writing and only afterwards have the avelus of what he lost, precisely because they want that we should stop, we should go away, we should fold up. That's why first the Torah is being written and only afterwards the avelus. The grandfather turned to the media and said, who asked him, how could you go ahead and make a bris of an anicle here a morning after there was so much blood on the floor? He answered them with the story that I just told you. In other words, the resiliency to bounce back. He then turned to them and said, I'm the grandfather of the baby from one side. The Elta Zayda, the great-grandfather from the other side, is Rabbi Elio Meir Bloch. And we just named the anicle at the bris Elio Meir for the Zayda Rabbi Elio Meir Bloch. You still have any questions for me? There's a resiliency to bounce back. There's a Torah that the Ribbono Shel Olam has given us, and whether we fully understand it or not is irrelevant. Minayin l'tchias hamesim min ha-Torah. When a few years ago I stood at Treblinka, the largest grave of almost 1 million Yidden, I said over the well-known story where Rabbi Frankel, the father-in-law of the former Chief Rabbi Lau, in 1965 was walking exactly where I did in Treblinka, and he bent down and he saw bones, human bones. And he went to go ahead and he wrapped it to give it the proper honor in newspaper. And then he turned to one of the people who was in charge of the area there in Treblinka and said, why don't you people bury these bones? And he looked at Rabbi Frankel and he said, Rabbi, every year we bury these bones. Not only do we bury these bones a proper burial under the ground, afterwards we put on top of it asphalt. And yet, every single year, these bones just come to the surface no matter how we bury it. And no matter how much is put on top of it, the bones come to the surface again. Heichon klurosai, they want to bury us. V'atayra amra lo yada ishas klurosai. It's not happening. I stood there at Treblinka and I quoted the famous Haftarah of the Atzamas Yeveshos. Atzamas Yeveshos is the valley of dry bones, where the Navi Yecheskel asked as a question, Hasichyena ha'atzamas ha'ela, will these bones ever live again? Standing there in Treblinka, right where Rabbi Frankel was able to say the story about the bones year after year coming to the surface, I said as a statement, Hasichyena ha'atzamas ha'ela, the bones do live again. There is the power of Torah, as we said, and saw in the story of Marshal. It creates a tchias hamesim. But what it does for us is it enables us to see that we won the lottery. And perhaps, just to bring it home to Shabbos Nachamu, it might be the greatest lesson we could impart to our children and our Einiklach. As I said a bit earlier, let them feel that the simcha is just bouncing off the walls. They say over a maisa that happened about 100 years ago, where a young boy comes home and he announced excitedly to his mother that he just finished some part of Mishnayos. And the mother stops what she's doing and she quickly sets the table in a Yom Tov setting. She and her husband put on Big Day Shabbos, and they mamish start singing and dancing, and the children and everything like it would have been a chasana. The little boy, seeing the way that his mother responded, as the story goes, said at that time in the Enlightenment, they wanted to grab those who had a genius mind. When he saw the way that his mother responded, he said, this is for me, and he made sure that nothing would happen with the Enlightenment. We in the world are certainly happy that that story happened for that 7-year-old boy, Yitzchak Hutner. Grew up to be the Chaim Berlin Rosh Hashiva and one of our Gedolei Yisrael. What a debt of gratitude we should have to Mrs. Hutner for responding the way she did. Can I ask you before we conclude, what would have happened if I could, for 30 seconds of drama, what would have happened if the story would have unfolded the following way? He comes home and he puts down the Mishnayos. And instead she would have responded, there, don't put it down there. The last time a sefer was put down over there and knocked over the water, and I had to clean that, and I had to be busy with the Windex. Don't put it down there. Put it down somewhere else. The night after supper, I'll put the kids in. We'll talk about it. Very nice, everything. How would the story have ended then? But because he saw that there was such a simchas HaTorah, that there wasn't anything that was valued or loved or appreciated or cherished more than that, how different is the world today because of that story? If there's anything that I could ask and beg of myself and others, if Reb Aaron said that having the Torah is winning the lottery, it is the underlying cause. If you don't feel like you won the lottery, the Ran says, B'Shem the Rabbeinu Yoina, it's going to be again, year after year after year. This is a lesson we should be zeicha to impart into our children. The Pasuk says, Eila told us Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram hoiled es Yitzchak. What are you saying it twice for? I got it. Why is the Torah saying it twice? My father used to always say over, Eila told us Yitzchak ben Avram means that Yitzchak was the biological son of Avram. Avram hoiled es Yitzchak means that he gave over and gave birth to into Yitzchak all that he stood for and all that he represented. How beautiful it would be if we could do the same for our Yitzchak. Yitzchak actually represents all of our families. It says in the Haggadah that there's Daled Bonim. Many say it's not really Daled Bonim. It's one son, but sometimes a son or a child can display different traits, and some days we're very happy and some days we're disappointed, and there's Tsar Gidul Bonim. The biggest proof, by the way, that it's one son is because every time the Bal Haggadah says Echad, 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 there's one son. So that means you're talking to me about a ben 4 times over. There's the ben who's the Chacham, the ben who's the Rasha, all 4. The numeric value of the word ben is 52. Times 4 is 208. Yitzchak, Yud Tzadi Ches Kuf, is exactly 208. When it says Avram Hoiled es Yitzchak, it means that whatever our child's name is, our family, like Yitzchak, we should give birth to all that we believe and represent into our children. How do I know that will bring us the ultimate nechama? Yitzchak, we just said, which represents the totality of our family, is 208. The word Nachamu is spelled Nun Ches Mem Vav, which is exactly 104. But it says Nachamu, Nachamu. It says it twice. 104 times 2 is 208. And that's the brach I hope we're Zaychatu Be'ezras Hashem, that to achieve greatness, we really believe in learning Torah, in supporting Torah, in making sure that in our homes the ahava of the Simchas HaTorah, I can't say I coined the expression because it's not like such a linguistic expert expression, but I like it nonetheless. I used it in an article that was written up last week. Could you make the Simchas HaTorah just bounce off the walls of your home? There are ways to do it. But let the children feel that with everything, this is what I live for and I treasure the most. They'll feel it when you light Hanukkah candles. They'll feel it even when you get ready on an Erev Pesach. They'll feel it when you build a sukkah. And they'll feel it when you sing Zmiris on a Shabbos table. We should be Zoicha to make sure that with the resiliency we have to keep bouncing back, that the Torah should be the dover that we feel like we won the lottery. We should be Zoicha to give that over to our children and families. That is Avram Hoiled es Yitzchak. Yitzchak is Begematria 208, and if we're Zoicha to do that, then let us merit the real Nachamu Ami of 208. As wonderful of a Shabbos as everybody must have had, the real Nachamu Ami of 208 is to be Zoicha to go back to Eretz Yisrael with the Bayis Shlishi, B'mheir and B'yameinu.
Shem Yegin Shir Torah, Meister's blessing, like your big Yashikayach, Rabbi Shapiro, for the very inspiring Divrei Chizuk V'Sairus. Rabbi, to have this one thing you take away from my remarks is that the Yegin Shir Torah summer program is ending in less than 3 weeks, and now is the time to take the opportunity to sponsor one of the remaining shiurim. I call Yegin Shir Torah 718-851-8651 or email tapecenter@yeshivanet.com. You can call to sponsor a share, give your generous donation, and put your ad in the journal for the upcoming annual dinner, which is in less than 2 weeks, Wednesday, August 16th. Due to space limitations, all the men are invited to the dinner Wednesday, August 16th at 7 p.m. Young Israel Avenue K at East 29th Street. I'd like to give Yashikach to the supporters of tonight's year, the Lowinger family, Leland Ishmas, Imam, Mindel, Basha Basha, Shalom, just as tonight, and also as a chus before Shlema for Miriam Leva, Bastavera, and Barak Gimpel, Victor Chana, Besoy Shacheli, Israel. Yashikach to everyone for coming. CDs of tonight's show will be available shortly. Reb Chananya ben Akash, Emor Tzagash Boch, Lazakis, Israel, Fiki Himlam, Mitzvah, Shenem Adonai Chafetz, Aman Tzidko, Yagdul, Tervi Yader.